turn it up. Okay. Okay, yeah, run it. SpiritDial, one question, watch this. Late night hell out, I need clarity. Try free, quick, no risk, no charity. Vision hit sharp like watch that tone. Tarot hit once like leave that alone. Girls in the chat like send that part. I'm like hold up, oh, I hit my heart. Not saying fake, not claiming true. Entertainment on it, but it cut right through. Nah. 1OK.
Slim drill, drum down, real town, Redville got me froze on the sidewalk. Now destiny just crazy how it lands. Ordeer playing like it knows my plans.
Listen.
Try and judge it, keep it honest, no hyper entertainment only, but it hit me just right.
Run it back! No way! That's insane! I'm trying that! Run it back! Golden hour beach walk, phone down low. Is it watch the moment, then there it go. Rooftop lights, girls like again and again. I hit love reveal, went deeper than no stunt, no scene. Crowd too clean. The Leo King walked by, felt like my screen. Not my love story, not who I'm with, just that how to know. Proof type shit. Stop too real, yo. Here it comes. Listen, run it back. Listen, run it back.
SpiritDial, one tap, real talk. Love reveal got me froze on the sidewalk.
Audio playing, listen, him it just right. For entertainment, only speed minutes of vibe. Oh, run it back. Okay, that's the one. Post that.
Welcome to your inspirational astrology horoscope for this new moon in Capricorn, January 18th. And then I'll be actually covering into January 19th, Monday of 2026. What is happening after this new moon that's so important? I'll be covering that today. Hope everybody's doing wonderful out there. Of course, I'm astrologer David Palmer, Leo King, here to illuminate the collective consciousness. Of course, thanks for being a part of HighVibe.tv. If you are not on HighVibe.tv, I definitely recommend getting on there. That's where I do all the dailies, all the weeklies, all the different shows. A lot popping off here for 2026, and I'm sure you saw my intro there, which is all about SpiritDial.ai. Of course, I have my 3 AI spiritual apps. That one is the one I put a lot of energy into after Hypergate. Been putting so much into Hypergate, especially that new feature, the love relationship aspect. So if you go to SpiritDial.ai and you do /love, or you could of course just go to SpiritDial.ai. I built a full reading that truly does, if you want to understand whether it's some new person, whether it's your partner. Not only have I configured this full RAG agent, MCP, I have so many agents. If you guys want me to prove it, I could show you. It's like 7 agents in order to do this. To do a crystal ball vision on what it sees, whatever the situation is with you and somebody, to do an actual tarot spread like a tarot reader would have done at the end of the 19th century, mixed with also the hybrid new stuff. But if you're single, after you figure that stuff out, then it will take you to another part of the reading where, based off your chart, or you could just put in your rising, your moon, and your sun. This is better than any. I know there's some other company, I think, doing a sketch. No. I'm going to tell you not only what they're going to look like and show you that, but then where you're going to meet them and when. And then if you're in a relationship and you're like, I don't know about that person might be a little bit shady. This was kind of crazy to actually build this out. It took me a couple weeks, but to actually you could upload your partner's photo, and it not only is going to look at, of course, auras, but it will determine, oh, you know what, where's that soul origin and the compatibility, and where are the red flags, where are the green flags, and we show you that, the green and the red flags. Also give you the descriptions of all that stuff, and then, of course, it also gives you an audio reading after all that's said and done, too. So if you just don't want to read it, you could just listen to it, too. So, of course, that's all on SpiritDial.ai. So if you just go to the main site, of course, you can just get a crystal ball vision for free. You don't have to be a subscriber. You could just buy credits. So if you just want to spend 10 credits, $4.99, and play with all these different functions, whether it's the chat, text, or whether it's you want to go deeper and you want to do live voice call, or get an audio reading, or do crystal ball visions, or tarot call pearls, or do this whole new section, which is only 5 credits to do the relationship reveal. So that's SpiritDial.ai. All right, let's talk about this astrology now. It's freaking a lot going on. I'm sure you didn't notice, but I have my interesting take like I always do on these things, and been a little busy. My whole life is changing actually right now in the most crazy way. So I'm behind the scenes making massive changes in my life. So I didn't have the time till this moment to finally show up and say, hey, what up? I'm here during the new moon. So let's take a look at that new moon. All right. So it happened at 28 degrees of Capricorn. Of course, it was nice having the trine over to Uranus, although Uranus is retrograde. I'm just not a fan of trines when a planet's retrograde. I'm just not. So what's the unpredictability? I think what it is, and maybe it's more about the future, it's like we're very much more future oriented now, but what's tangible? I think people are over, oh, that sounds like a good idea, right? This is the end of this very intense Capricorn season that was intense because it was the first time that Mars has come into Capricorn where it's exalted without Pluto. Remember, 2 years ago, Pluto was still in Capricorn at 29 degree. So this one's been pure what we're going to get Capricorn-wise, but it's also intense because of the sextiles over to Saturn and Neptune. Especially Neptune. I mean, this is really the hallmark new moon of the old world is fully over. I think that's apparent, especially if you just look at the state of the world. This is the new moon that you have to realize, you can't keep trying to do the world the old way. And I say that because Neptune comes into Aries in about a week, right? On the 26th of January. And it will stay there. Now, the last time it did that was Civil War. So some people have been upset, but I always said it on this channel many, many years ago when we got to this point that it would feel like, we're going to go through World War II, the Civil War, the Revolutionary War all at the same time. Yeah, it does feel like that. That's part of how the world shifts. Ironically, of course, it goes way deeper than that. You can watch my 2026 predictions on highvibe.tv. But I will say that this new moon sextile Neptune is very much the goodbyes, right? And it's the goodbye of this idea of control, especially as everything's moving into Aquarius, falling after that. We're coming into Aquarius season. We have Venus and Pluto that are about to conjunct. And of course, we have Mars that's trailing behind now, but that Mars-Venus conjunction happened in Capricorn. But we see Mercury-Mars conjunct for this new moon. And so you'd think with the trine to Uranus, it's let's go. It'll come in different forms. There's going to be a part of your life here that you value that you're let's go. And then there's also this other part where it's I have no idea what's happening. And that's the Neptune. Even though it's a great aspect as far as a sextile goes, I don't care if it's a sextile. I don't care if it's a trine. I don't care if it's a square. I don't care if it's a freaking Ceci square. I don't care what is going on. Neptune's always going to bring an I don't know. Especially at the 29th degree of Pisces, that's where it's literally domicile at. That's its home, Neptune. And this is Neptune realizing, I got to come back in a long time, over 150 more years later, until we see Neptune and Pisces again. So this is a very big goodbye. And in Capricorn, the goodbye is there is no control, right? Like all there is fate. All there really truly is the highest spiritual fate. That things, if they don't work out in your life, it's not because of you making the decision. The universe made the decision for you and just pulled it out of your life. That's what's crazy, right? Like you can run this little rat race all you want and get really upset and get very stressed over it and think that you're pulling all the strings, or you're here to just align with your destiny. It'll just show up, and it will also, things will leave in order to get you back on your path, or on your path if you don't, right? So you don't really have to do much this life except be in awareness and consciousness. Of course, taking action makes us feel like we're in control. It's more about the response in life, right? Now, I think it's an interesting moment with this Mercury-Mars. Of course, it's loud. Of course, Mercury-Mars, it's the bugle horn of Mars, if you think about it, which definitely we're hearing the war cries. This Mercury-Mars, is it really important? I think every time Mercury and Mars meet up, it is. I mean, it's definitely Mercury on a malefic, right? So this could be a little bit of dread in the sense of like, I have to do all this stuff, and it's very Capricorn, and the bar's set super high. Of course, we've been seeing all these big squares to Chiron and Aries. So I think that, with Mars dispositing that, that's been difficult because it's, where's the healing taking place? Yeah, that all those versions of your unhealed ego that had high expectations, instead of placing your soul and your character at a higher bar. I think that a lot of this too is just like, we feel stifled in who we want to be with Chiron and Aries, but there's always a reason why, right? Why is the healing taking place? You wouldn't probably have paid attention prior up until that you started feeling all Chiron-y and weird, and well, I just feel like I can't be who I want to be. It's like, well, what's the underlying issue because of that within yourself? I mean, and a lot of this too is very interesting, that the biggest character test right now, and actually what aligns us in our life the best in every way is the spiritual life, of course, but it is doing that deep inner self-reflection and making sure that we're not self-undoing long-term choices in our life, right? Like, so actually the biggest choice we always make is whether or not we self-destruct, self-undo, or choose the universe, choose God, choose this higher, right? Those are the choices. Pythagoras always had his why, which John Dee took in his version, and I like John Dee's version. I also like Pythagoras's, but the why is really simple. Are you going down the earth path of just the earth and being a tyrant to spirituality? Or are you going to go down the path where the work and the consciousness are all these layers that rise up, right? It's going to water, then it goes to air, and then we get to the fire, and then to the ether, and that's how we get to the spiritual life. We gain more wisdom there. We lose the anxieties. That physical realm, that 3D realm, you get too lost in that, and that's what your whole life is about. It's going to be so empty. I think that this is the moment where, yeah, there's a bit of emptiness that people might feel inside right now, but I think it's more so a collective emptiness of this realization of like the world and how we lived it for as long as you and I, who is ever watching this video, right? It doesn't matter what generation you are, that world's over. So you're not going to get any pleasure from that place. You're not going to feel anything that makes you be like, oh, once I get to this position, once I get this job, once I get this relationship, once I get this, right? Like this Mercury and Mars is creating a lot of stress, right? So it could be inflammation. It could be a lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of things that could come up with that one. I don't know why, but my daughter got like food poisoning this weekend, so she vomited. So that was my first time cleaning my own kid's vomit, and then Sophia got it too. But it's very Mercury Mars, right? Like vomiting. I always say it's like Elizabeth Warren. She barks like a dog, because she has it. She was born with it. And actually, it's funny. My daughter was born with Mercury Mars too. But it is an interesting new moon because, is it at the last degree? Almost. It's within 17 minutes. Pretty close. But that Venus we already see in Aquarius about to conjunct Pluto, I don't think that's going to be as big of a deal as maybe a lot of people have been putting it. It's not like we haven't seen it in Aquarius. I think what's the bigger deal is that new moon with the sun that's going to be moving into Aquarius Monday evening. That's really where everything is kind of at now. I mean, even if you just think of all the planets, right, from Jupiter and Cancer, I mean, if you just go out to 18 Capricorn, everything's within 180 degrees, right? So everything is on one side of the zodiac. Even in the helio, we are almost at that point too. So this is very, a locomotive train going into this old world that we've been living through, the Capricorn world, but also the Neptune and Pisces world. And these two work together, the mystical sea goat. You're not going to really get anywhere without Spirit's true assistance. Meaning, it's not your action, it's the energy behind your action that's filled from Spirit that you're really not really doing. It's that wind that just kind of catches your sails. And you're not screwing your own self over, right? I mean, there is a very intense flow state here. I mean, Saturn as well, being in Pisces, the dispositing planet of all this energy in Capricorn is Saturn, and Saturn's in sextile. So there's a lot of stability here within the framework of your subconscious, the framework of where you're at spiritually. Things are going to go really weird and feel offline if you're not putting that first. Now, what I find the most interesting here, do I really want to go over there? Let me just see. Hold on 1 second. Oh, you're not going to open it here? Oh, yeah. Oh, good. Oh, you guys are seeing how this whole thing works. Needed it. Thank you. Oh, Docker desktop, thanks. There we go. Let's push. There we go. All right. So now we can have some fun. Okay, so one is, if you notice in the essential dignities, Saturn gets +5 here. And that's actually the highest score. So Saturn in Pisces is better scored on this new moon than Jupiter exalted or Mars exalted. Think about that. One is, of course, the moon being in detriment in Capricorn, so Jupiter's not going to, when it's dispositing there, even though Jupiter's exalted, it's like, that's a detriment place for the moon. Okay, well, why isn't it Mars? I mean, it really, well, Mercury's on top of it. Right? So that could distract Mars, or Mars could be too focused on convincing or getting Mercury to go out there and do things. But the other thing is that all these planets are in Capricorn during this new moon, and Saturn happens to be the one that disposits over, right? That's where it rules. But on top of it, Saturn's in Neptune sign, and Neptune is where everything in the hierarchy of the essential dignities truly is at, Neptune being the ultimate place we end up at, and it's at the end. So there is this deep void, there is this deep ending, there is this deep, in many ways kind of sorrow for people, but I think it's really where it's like you have to accept that you don't know everything, even when these trines to Uranus are happening. I think we're getting cool insights. Really, it's creative. That Taurus energy. I mean, you guys just saw I just promoted my new SpiritDial freaking shit. I'm creative as fuck right now, but you know, it has to have utility, right? So it's like, what are all these skills that you've been doing and applying in your life and making redirections, right? We all have to make the money differently now. Uranus at the end of Taurus. The money systems are changing. You know, what is valuable now? Like coming into 2018 with Uranus and Taurus, it was like, oh my God, you got to have a degree. Do you think anybody gives a fuck about that now? No. I actually just I'm part of a couple different VC emails, and Slow Ventures email was so crazy that they just sent out today. It was like, basically with how fast AI is, and for those of us out there that code and create and develop, but like basically right now you're already too late if you haven't built it, right? Somebody else is building it that fast. And I'm not here to push that kind of fear, but you know, it is kind of where this Aquarius energy that we're coming into, that this Uranian trine that we have is very, very Uranian and very Aquarian. And it very much is beginning this future, but it's before we get there. Of course, Saturn and Neptune are going to meet on February 20th in Aries, which hasn't happened since 4361 BCE. So, you know, I mean, it's taken over 6,000 years for this to happen, but you know, Monday, we're getting into that sun that actually does come into Aquarius. We see Mercury, Mars, of course, in trine Uranus. We see Mercury, Mars, sextile Saturn. So, you know, I think that when the moon passes over this Venus, Pluto, and then if you just go through Monday, because I really want to show people this, like Monday to me is interesting, like really interesting, like boom. Sun ingresses into Aquarius, Venus and Pluto conjunct, and the moon's in front of them. And then, of course, there's the sun and moon back in a new sign, right? So because we're having all these new moons at the end of signs, you got to go through a whole long balsamic phase of the moon, a dark moon for 2.5 days. And then the new moon happens. And then like there's just like, whether it's like a couple hours, it's like, okay, the moon's in a new sign. And then no, now the sun's in that same sign. And then you're back to the sun and moon. So it could be very draining. But it is really putting us into this Aquarius season. And, you know, this reminds me of like last year, January, but like knowing we had all these outer planets that are going to shift into new signs. But this is where it's like, we know for sure. And it was Jupiter Gemini last year when we entered into the same kind of energy. And we didn't have Mars that was going to conjunct Pluto, right? So we have some extreme changes on every level coming. So last year was a lot of change, but this is the most extreme. And we have Saturn, Neptune on the approach. Of course, Uranus being in Taurus, still not direct. Uranus is going really slow, 47 minutes a day or seconds a day. Nothing is out of bounds, though. Remember these last like weeks that we've been building up to this new moon and coming into Aquarius. We had a lot of personal planets, everything, whether it was the moon, of course, but if, you know, that Mars was out of bounds, that Venus was out of bounds, that Mercury went out of bounds. And then we saw, of course, the Cazimis of Venus and Mars to the sun. So, you know, now that those are done, it really is, you know, you could look at it as a seed. But I think what it is allowing yourself to disconnect from the old world. The things that just are energetically moving out, that are crusty and old, and that are not platforms and systems that aren't going to work in your life, that most likely it just removes itself. That's what I like about Saturn and Neptune. It's the broom that sweeps the fucking dust out itself, right? So like if you're not, let's say the universe is ready for you to open a door right now. And it's more like the opposite way. It's not about you opening the door. It's more like, you know, that's what we feel like in our life, but it's more like the universe is here. It wants you to go up to this next level. Well, whatever's in the way of that, even if you're super attached to it, even if it's like part of your system, even if it's part of what you spiritually feel like you're doing, it'll dust itself out. Right? And you'll be like, what the fuck? And that's because you're leveling up. Anybody who's saying I am leveling up because I'm going towards this. I'm sorry to say, this is going to just blunt you, right? Those that are leveling up with the North Node in Pisces, with this Aquarius energy, right? It's going to have to be learning to watch that, this Venus Pluto is an extreme like detachment, severed ties with the trines to Uranus. Bye-bye, right? This is very much a big bye-bye. And with Neptune at the end of Pisces sextile, bye-bye. So there's a lot. I mean, gosh, am I going to sound like NSYNC now? Like, bye, bye, bye. Maybe that was why they made that track, was for this moment. Like, bye, bye, bye. 3 of them in a row. So it's like, we all, though, are at this weird place of like, where the fuck am I going next? What is next? A lot of it is chill the fuck out. Okay? Do your work right now of disconnecting from what swept itself out. And what's cool about this Aquarius transit is we get to be surprised. So if you're so set on what that vision has to be, right? Like it has to look this way. It's just like, that ain't going to be the vision that's going to happen. So I wouldn't, very an Aquarian style, like I would not take a risk. It's because it is a Saturn rule sign too. But Uranus is the gambler in a way, right? That one that wants to take the crazy risk for wild gains. No. I'll just say no. This is North Node of Pisces. We have to be like, okay, gambling's very 12th house, right? But the act of rolling the dice. I don't think that we're here to roll the dice. I think that what we're here to do is be like, this is where the dice have landed. These are the moves the universe has shown me. And it's really not a choice. It's like I either do this one or this one, and it won't impact my life too much. Because if you've been doing the spiritual work, you're not having to make some big major choice here. What you're doing is fighting to try and make a choice, and it's just a big wall and resistance, especially with Saturn and Neptune at the end of Pisces still. So you can't get upset whatever's taking too long, right? That's meaning the universe is like, shut the fuck up and look at this. Are you sure? Are you sure you want to throw the chlorine out? That's what keeps the pool clean. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't like, it's got chemical. It's like, it's fucking chlorine. Relax. I also think that because everything's on one side of 180 degrees of the zodiac, it feels like it's a lot, or it feels like it's lopsided too. But it also feels like everything is now becoming in that energy of what, is being said as like singularity, but the spiritual version of it. The timeline feels like it's very much in there. And then we have to remember too, this is everything coming towards Pluto now. I mean, it's been nice seeing, these Cazimis and stuff, but the Cazimis are, not as big of a deal. If Pluto isn't nearby, with Pluto nearby, it makes it a massive deal. Because then it's like, okay, we go through these things, and then it's like we go through this very extreme initiation now, not of just transformation. That word's used too much, but this purification moment, right? This Phoenix moment. That truly is in an Aquarius moment of like, okay, there are other higher forms of my life, but it's hard to see. We've been doing all this work with Uranus and Taurus, which has been trined by all these planets, right? So it's like, okay, it's time to level you up, but it's like when you're a kid in Little League and you step up to the biggest part, right? It's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hit the ball 65, 70 miles an hour when those guys are throwing that. And I'm 12, It's like, that guy's throwing fucking 71. I remember that. I remember being like 71 miles an hour. I'm 12. My first at bat, fucking ground roll double too. I hit that shit smack to center field over the center field's head. I'm like, damn, I guess I can hit that shit. And I think that's where that kind of like Uranian energy is coming in right now. It's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do all this. It's like, well, you haven't. Wait till you actually get to that moment. Use the tools you've gained and all these things that you have at your disposal, especially within yourself. Valuing yourself is going to be key now, especially with all this Capricorn, right? The ultimate character test is like, if you value yourself, then you know how to treat others good, and you know how to value other people, and you know how to show up. It's whether or not energy wants to show back in life, whether it's a job, and jobs come up a lot, all this Capricorn, Trine Uranus and Taurus, right? I think what we have to pay attention to is like the propaganda with Neptune at the end of Pisces, 2950 degrees by Monday. And we are coming into this Aquarius with Pluto here, and Venus conjunct Pluto. And, you know, it's going to be hard to discern what's propaganda, what's not, right? But there definitely is the universe really going to show us sides, right? That's what happened with the Confederacy and what happened with the Union. And every time the same event will happen, the repeat. I've said this before, right? So, right, you know, I actually made an X post about it today because people were just, I can't even stand the internet. These people are so stupid. They don't understand anything. So, here. And I don't care that I do this on YouTube, but some people just need to understand that I'm just I'm an astrologer who does mundane astrology. I make predictions. A fucking reminder to the past. The exact same astrology is happening right now, and it peaks this week with Neptune at the end of Pisces, coming back into Aries. It did it twice. It did it twice back in 1861. All right. Confederate newspapers portrayed the South as heroic victims fighting a tyrannical North, dehumanizing Union forces as brutal invaders while glorifying Southern bravery, and fiercely attacked Lincoln as a despot, fueling secession and war by spreading rumors, printing fake news like a false conscription order, and using partisan narratives to make the Southern cause seem just and noble, despite Lincoln's own government suppressing some Northern papers as well, which he did after that. War declared, Friends of the South and justice to arms. Lincoln, president at Washington City, not the United States, right? They were like, fuck you. You have to remember that the second the South elected Abraham Lincoln, they began everything they could do to secede. Abraham Lincoln came back and said, I will give you an amendment. We'll make an amendment in the Constitution. I've got all the people that have agreed in the House and the Senate. I will, as executive order, all you slave states can keep slavery as if like that's what it will always be, but we're never making any more new ones. They said no. Most people don't know that history. I hate to say it, but we're rewatching the same thing all over again, right? Like with Tim Walz, and he's acting like the governor of whether it's South Carolina or whatever. And I'm just looking at the history, right? The same dehumanizing the North coming in to enforce federal law. So, I think it's important to understand this, though, right now, that we are at a world that's about to see that civil war. I mean, I haven't checked, but actually, let's just do this. This is fair. Apple News. A state and city face another edge and another threat from Trump to send in 1,500 troops. Yeah, because this is what happens when you go against federal law. This is what Abraham Lincoln did. And everybody felt bad for the South and the South, right? Oh, they're coming in to take away. And then members of the Minnesota National Guard are on standby, ready to assist local law enforcement and public safety agencies. If our members are activated, right? So it's like locals. So these are your Confederates right now. Believe it or not, right? So, It's going to get really weird out there. And I don't give a flying fuck. I really don't. When it comes to this, like, people are so tripping on me. Like, you're fucking exciting. What the fuck? I'm like, I am just a fucking astrologer. I'm doing the astrology. I predicted this. I told you this would happen. Not hard. It's not hard to do fucking reoccurrences in astrology. It really is not. But then you have the world, of course, right? NATO, right? Trying to say that if America goes into Greenland, then, you know, the NATO countries will enact it. Canada fucking being like, we're going to support our NATO country. Yeah, that's saying, okay, we're going to go, we'll attack America. China making it a big deal. I predicted the whole China-Canada thing, like, for a while, but then the day before, I literally did a thing with Ann. I'm like screaming at people online on here on my YouTube. You guys need to pay attention. This shit's about to happen. And it fucking happened the next day. So, like, you know, China now owns the UK because the UK definitely, like, to keep probably the little Disneyland going of, like, having a fucking monarch, they were like, yeah, okay, whatever, you can do that. But they needed money. Wow, this dude's just killing an overdriver. But, you know, it's going to get really weird. And you need to be locked into your purpose, locked in to extreme randomness. That's Uranus transit that we're in right now, and destabilization of the Earth in Taurus. While at the same time, you know, Jupiter is in septile to Uranus, so it does feel like we're on an alien planet and we're going to be protected. But we are on an alien planet, it feels like. And we have to remember that, you know, that 51 degree angle is like exact. It's a beautiful septile. There's also, well, that's to the south known. But, you know, I think it's an important moment for us to remember it's a North Node Pisces. Like, don't get lost in this Virgo realm and worry and freak out about things. Although Pisces can freak out too. But I think this North Node, Saturn, Neptune is remembering things are closing down. The way that you saw the world, the way that your perspective was, the way that your belief systems, the way that even the religions are changing. And that all has to get sorted out in Aquarius, right? This whole Pluto, right? Like, no society does not get along. Right? Pluto is the shadow, the underbelly that no, the utopia does not exist, right? If anything, the utopia is exactly the scariest thing that would ever happen to the world. So it's the Pluto conjunction to Uranus back in the 60s and 64 with Saturn in opposition, right? It's this Pluto that's going to be beginning its trine again, or have the trine from Uranus to it again when it gets into Gemini, is not the revolution the way that people think it is. It's the revolution that's definitely going to be technological, right? The freest people on the planet are technology. The people who have the chips, the people who know how to code, the people who know how to use all these talents and skills. And that's what Uranus and Taurus is testing. Because I warned people about this for so long. Uranus, I said for years, I said it on the fucking news. If you go look at my fucking, on my YouTube under my news stuff and on my TV shows, I fucking warn people on the news. When Uranus and Taurus is, all of our allies are going to change. And then main thing, before World War II, right when it was about to happen, you know, the people who were like into the new technology and doing that shit, they flourished. Everybody who is doing the same old rinky-dink job that's been around forever, it doesn't exist anymore. That's what's going to happen. And whether it's AI, I think more so it's going to be World War III. So, but you know what? It's not about being so worried about that. As long as you understand how badass you are and your skills here, and then you understand the climate we're in, you understand that we're into a massive Aquarian transit, that there is no predictability. There is no safe space that we want. This is what Jupiter's trying to understand. Where's the safe space? But It's Uranus and Taurus. It's still retrograde. It's stopping. And we're going to feel the world go crazy. And you have to be like at peace with yourself, as if you were like at an inpatient watching the collective go through a fucking padded room and screaming like at Arkham, you know, and not fall into it. Focus on your life. Focus on, where's the universe trying to take you? What's falling out of your life? Like, what's dissolving? This is Neptune and Pisces. The big part, of course, is the world that we lived in, and that world that we thought it was going to always be. That's over, right? Don't start attaching to thinking that with this Venus Pluto that we'll find some fix and keep it going. And there is no fix, right? The only way that they fix it is Aries. And what's happening? Yeah, Saturn, Neptune, Aries in a month. And what is that? War. You study enough history and astrology. The thing that changes the whole world is war. When the money gets bad, when all these things, when they want to do new things. So you just have to really understand this Capricorn new moon for the next month is all about knowing how to position yourself in the right place. Now with the trine to Uranus, it'll be very surprising and different. And with Neptune and sextile and Saturn, it's like the universe will place you in the right spiritual spot as long as you go with the flow, as long as you don't keep trying to hold on to what does not want to be in your life or what isn't working out in your life and dissolving itself out. Stop trying to chase it. That's a hard lesson. It's a very difficult lesson, and there's a lot of pain with that, and that's part of the Chiron pain, right? I want this. Okay, well, that's not what God sees for you. Oh, okay. Right? This Venus-Pluto definitely is about attachment. Stop trying to fix things that don't want to be with you, or that don't show up, or that don't want to be around. Stop trying to fucking fix that. That's not fixable. That's too big of an equation, right? Especially if you've gotten enough evidence that's like direct, probably with Mercury, Mars, like this is not what my path is. This is not what I like. This is, people are going to be talking about what they like and they don't like on the extremes for the next week. And that's how we start this new moon. By the time that we get to the end of it, we get to the new moon, which the next new moon's a fucking solar eclipse in Aquarius. Right? And it's happening days before the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries. This is going to be the craziest month of our lives. And then we're going to go through more months that'll be the craziest months of our lives. Right? This is not going to stop. But the eroding of the world that we thought we lived in is gone. So what's the intention, if I were to put it out there with this new moon? Knowing that you'll be able to only get to the correct spot and have the better point of view if you have good moral character, if you are willing to see things differently and try new things and use skills you haven't done yet, or at least keep applying those new skills and keep seeing that value and worth, and you'll be at the right place when it needs to be. You need to get rid of the exact moment of time and these little details and getting so caught up in every little stupid detail, and also living your life super stuck in this little padded cell of this little freak out of like, my life has to look like this and this has to look like that. And we have to get rid of all those collective rules like that don't really even matter. This is definitely, the biggest cigar cutter, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that's beginning that we've ever been through at the 0 point, but at the end, and we're at the end. So don't get lost in this illusion that it's all over in a negative way. There's a huge new beginning. And, however these chips fall is how they fall. You're going to have to realize that Capricorn takes advantage of how the chips fall no matter how they fall. It's about how well you are good with utility, how good with you and becoming and taking the chips and making utility of them. But more importantly, is it about planning? Yeah, sure. But the plan really, I think, has to have this flexibility with the sextile to Neptune and with Saturn and Pisces, right? It has to be flexible. And with Uranus, be surprised. Try the new thing. Go with wherever that the flow state is going. You're not even having to do much, right? Meaning Things will just dissolve out. You don't even need to explain yourself. You don't even need to, like, go fight for it. Because the more you fight for something right now, it's just going to be like, I don't want you to fight for me. Okay. You have to realize that. Not going to be easy, though. Of course, there's a lot of social aspects that are going to be happening, but it's Aquarius. It's a difference. And there's a lot of Capricorn still. There's a lot of social stuff. And it's trine Uranus. There's a lot of turning over in people, and what are we connecting with? Who are we connecting with? What projects are we doing? You know what? And these opportunities that start to come up, take them. Take them. But they have to be in that same, flow state, but also like that they bring utility into your life and you bring utility into theirs, and they want to go create great things. That's what it's about. But the Aquarius right now is kind of this in-between space of all this Capricorn that's finishing and this Pisces, which has been in sextile, right? So it's the midpoint. And then we have all these planets only on one side of the zodiac. Yeah, it is a little difficult because, in Aquarius, it's like, hold on, let me get the chalkboard out. Let me get the thing out. Let me like try and figure this all out here. It's like, okay, good luck. Why don't we just like go with like what is disconnected already? What is already cold? What is it? And the sun is at detriment Monday. Okay. Stop trying to breathe life into things that don't want to breed life, literally, because the sun is about breeding when it's in Leo. In Aquarius, it's the opposite. It's the abortion. And it can feel like an abortion. Right. And we can feel like we're the ones that are sitting in the womb and what is this pill? Like, fuck, guess I'm being aborted out of this. Right? So you don't really have the control. The people who are doing the control, that's what's going to be very apparent right now. Right? People that are just like, I'm in control of everything. It's like they're very narrowly focused on their ego and what they want, and just that's it. They're not thinking about the repercussions or the long term. And Neptune and Pisces, you still have to be forgiving, and you still have to be compassionate towards these people on the world stage in your personal life. But this is definitely the week where things just extremely go, what the fuck? And that's going to be okay. You're going to have to be like, I don't know, but we are going to get to know, and we're going to be surprised. And just in the matter of weeks, we're going to have Uranus station direct, right? And then that's going to really start to make things. We're so close to so many things just engaging. We already have every planet direct but 2 of them. So don't forget, there's a lot of things happening still. And this is a moment for you to be like, okay, I'm surrendering to what is happening. I'm surrendering to being the fetus being aborted out of the fucking womb right now, okay? Like, whether you're being sucked out or the fucking pill is fucking in the, whatever, however that fucking thing works. And I guess it starts messing with the uterine wall and just fucking like, you just are just shivving down that fucking wall and like, bye-bye, right? It's like, okay, I'm ending up in a toilet. Okay, that's very the Pisces. And you're flushing into the right place. Not going to be fun, but anybody, you're going to have to accept that. That's just what's going on. All right. What do we got card-wise here? The Justice card reversed. Yeah, so it's not going to feel very just, sitting into that kind of place and being sucked out. But remember, when unjust things happen in life, you don't go meet it with unjust things back. Right? So this is really a test of like, stay in your peace it's not about saying, I'm just going to just deal with this injustice. It's like, no, I'm going to deal with this injustice by being a just person and by counterbalancing that negative energy with positive right now. And being, a source of that expression, a source of a level of like learning to have to detach. Some people, though, are too detached and have to learn to connect here. And they might be like not even paying attention to what they're doing. You can't convince people, though. There's no way. Okay? People are kind of like locked in at this point. But miracles happen or surprises happen. So on a Page of Pentacles, So, I mean, it's one of those things to where, you know what, when the unjust thing is that you notice in life when people are just chasing little fucking things but they put so much weight on the value of them, but it's really just some tiny thing. And so there could be a very big mismatch right now, especially with Uranus teaching some smackdown lessons now that we come into all this Aquarius energy. Yeah, it's like, okay, you thought that was all of this unjust shit for that? But the positive is, if you're in a space, even if you're in a place where it's unfair, the universe is still going to give you a sign like, hey, I'm creating something for you here. It might feel subtle. That's Page of Pentacles. It's a slow card. It's a fast card as a page, but it's a pentacle. It's slow. I think that it's like more like, hey, okay, I get the message that the universe is doing this because this is what it's building for me here. Okay. You accept that, and this could be a really good new moon. I mean, the next new moon is a freaking solar eclipse in Aquarius. And the last time we had a solar eclipse in Aquarius with the North Node, right, was all the way back in 2008, the beginning of 2008. So I appreciate you all very much. I will see you guys on High Vibe TV. Definitely check out SpiritDial.ai, and then of course check out Hypergate.ai, and then pastlifelabs.com, and then I'll see you on High Vibe TV. I appreciate you all very much. This is definitely just get through this week here. Of course, I'm on High Vibe every day doing all that, deep astrology, all that stuff. But yeah, it's not gonna be easy the way that you don't go with the flow and have to accept it. You have to see that God is like having you accept things that seem fucked up and what? But it's going to get you to the right place. So like you have to remember that, right? So if you're on the receiving end of everything, you're in the right zone. If you're trying to move everything around and shuffle this board game and getting in God's way, it might seem like you're getting away with it, but eventually God's hand will be moving the board and, kind of end up in Pleasure Island with Pinocchio. All right, I will see you all. Remember, the number one thing on this new moon as well in Capricorn, sextile Neptune and Saturn, of course, that are in Pisces, is extreme vulnerability and on transparency and honesty. Because the white lies build up with Neptune and Pisces. The lies build up, the deceit. And the biggest deceit's happening in front of our faces in our world right now. But I think we're going to see a lot of that in our own personal lives too come out, and a lot of this Pluto and Aquarius kind of throwing what nobody expected in our lives out too. And it's not about being cautious, but being understanding and prepared for that. I appreciate you all. I will see you on the next one. Thanks for all the support. Adios. Bye-bye.
Turn it up. Okay. Yeah. Run it. SpiritDial, one question, watch this. Late night, hell out, I need clarity. Try free, quick, no risk, no charity. Vision hit sharp like watch that tone. Tarot hit once like leave that alone. Girls in the chat like send that bar. I'm like hold up, oh why it hit my heart. Not saying fake, not claiming true. Entertainment on it, but it cut right through. Nah. 1OK.
Slim drill them down real time. Redville got me froze on the sidewalk. Now destiny just crazy how it lands. Ordeer playing like it knows my plans. Try and judge it, keep it honest. No hype for entertainment only, but it hit me just right.
Run it back! No way! That's insane! I'm trying that! Run it back! Golden hour beach walk, phone down low. Is it watch the moment, then there it go. Rooftop lights, girls like again. I hit love reveal, went deeper than no stun, no scene. Crowd too clean. The Leo King walked by, felt like my screen. Not my love story, not who I'm with, just that how to know. Proof type shit. Stop too real, yo. Yo, here it comes. Listen, listen. Listen. Run it back. Hold on. Oh. Listen. Run it back.
SpiritDial, one tap, real talk. Love reveal got me froze on the sidewalk.
Audio playing, listen, him and just ride. For entertainment, only speed, men survive. Oh, run it back.